Hello everyone, my name is Belle, and today let's talk about my family, where we came from, who we are, who my parents are, and my grandparents, and everything about my bloodline. I am done promoting my art and my books. I have given enough time, effort, and energy to do so, and so as an artist, to me, my job is done. In YouTube, it's very tricky to do some promotion because you have to be really creative in order to promote your products. And that's it for me. If you guys may notice, just recently I posted an announcement about my relationship status, and the reason for that is, if you guys don't know, my account got hacked. I have stalkers. I've been getting weird email messages, and it borders harassment. Um, it's just weird. It's very weird. Some dude, kind of forcing me or wanting me to admit that I am someone. I am his sort of long lost love, that I am somebody that he knew, and he wants to like marry me. He wants me to admit that I am a Jeet. Okay, listen, whoever you are, okay, I am not a Jeet. Okay, I don't know what that is, and I don't know who that is, and this is the reason why I wanted to talk about my family, because if you knew my family, you would never mistake me for anyone else. All right, I am not a Jit. My name is Belle, and I am an only daughter of my mother and my father. Okay, you will understand that later on as we go along in this video. So let's talk about my family. First, I want to talk about my mother's family, because I think compared to my father's family, my mother's family is simpler. And when I say simpler, it is more transparent than my father's family. My father's family is a little bit complicated because, if I'm gonna be honest, even until this day, I'm still discovering things about my father's family. I don't know everything there is just yet. Whereas compared to my mom's family is just very simple. It's very on point. Their identity as a family is very much ingrained by their islands. It's just the way it is for them. These people were born, raised, grow, and expanded in their islands. These islands are somewhat of an ancestral properties, and so my grandparents, and my uncles and my aunts and my mom, they all were born in there and raised there. So if you go to that island, you will meet my second cousin, my third cousins, my fourth cousins, fifth cousins, and all those stuff. There are strangers, of course. There are non-family members, but they are all married to and related to my family, if that makes sense. My mother's family is huge. My mother alone, they are, I think, 12 to 13 brothers and sisters. They're huge. They're just huge family. And so these islands are white sand, beach, blue water, Pacific Ocean, all those stuff. It's glorious to look at. It's just beautiful out there. And as you all know, I have spent my entire childhood running and swimming on those seashores. I've had the fondest memories spent in my childhood in those islands. I remember me and my brothers, we used to dance in the balcony of my aunt's vacation house. They would celebrate the feast or the festival for 3 straight days. So 3 straight days of non-stop drinking, non-stop dancing, non-stop singing, non-stop eating. You would literally wake up in the morning and you would see a guy lying on sleeping on the basketball court because he was too drunk to go home, and he would be fine, he would be okay. Like, everybody there is so friendly. They would look at you as if you are the biggest celebrity in Hollywood or something like that. The people there are so humble. They have no sense of pride, no sense of ego, and no sense of stress. People there are never anxious and all, and that's why if you are, say for example, depressed, and if you're sick, just go to those islands, and just like that, you'll be fine, you'll be okay. It's very healing to the soul, it's very healing to the body as well. A couple of years ago, a typhoon hit, and it kind of destroyed some of the facilities of the island. And so one of my cousin who owns an airplane, she rebuilt the school, or she helped rebuild the school. And just recently as well, another cousin of mine who owns a beach resort, not in that island, somewhere, actually just called me and informed me that there are business people who are interested in buying the islands. And I'm like, there is no way, there is no freaking way I am going to sell that. I love those islands so much. Like, I will never ever going to sell those. Like, I don't care how much money they offer. Like, there's no way. Just imagine, no matter what happens in life, no matter how far you go, you will always have a sanctuary that's just for you, and no one can take that away from you. You will always have that. You could always go there anytime you want. And you can have that place all by yourself, for your friends, for your family, anytime you want, for free. You don't have to worry about paying anything. You have those white beaches and blue water that's in front of you, and those resources around you as far as your eyes can see. It's like heaven and earth, and you can go there anytime you want for free. You don't have to worry about paying anything. You don't have to. I mean, this is what people have worked their entire lives for, isn't it? Like, people work so hard just to have an experience, what, 2-3 days in Monte Carlo, in Monaco, or in Maldives, in, Cancun, Mexico. I have that since birth. And that's been my life, eating grapes at the beach. Like, for real, I will never sell those islands, man. Like, there's no freaking way. That's mine. I remember when I was a kid, I used to jog around my aunt's vacation house. This is a huge vacation house with a 360 degrees balcony. And I remember just standing there in the middle of the balcony and overlooking the entire island. And I remember realizing right there and then that everything that I see all around me, all the resources, are all mine. It belongs to my family. And not only that, all the resources as far as my eyes can see. Just imagine that. This is not some mansion, this is not some palace at all. This is islands. This feels like literally being given the gift of the earth. That's all mine. So yeah, that's all I can say about my mother's family, because as I've said, their entire identity is ingrained by their islands. These people are simple, happy people. We're just happy people. They love to party. They just love to dance, especially sing. Like, most of my aunts and uncles are singers, and even my mom, like, she could sing very well. Like, very simple people. Like, you will never hear anyone getting into some dark stuff going on. Like, we have none of that in my family. Let's move on to my father's family. Oh my gosh, where to begin? As I've said, my father's family is far more complicated than my mother. My mother's family is very much transparent. It's very simple. They're very easy to understand. Whereas my father's family, oh boy, there's some layers to it. There's a lot of mysteries, like things that you don't know, but it's there. Like, what? Even until this day, like, I'm still discovering stuff about them. So what's the deal about my father's family and who they are, where they came from? Well, in simplest terms, my father's family is political. How political? Well, let's just say that Papa is blood related to a certain former president of a country. I'm not gonna say who is who, okay? They're cousins. So, Who is my grandmother? My grandmother, as what my father used to describe, used to be, well, somewhat of an aristocrat. Okay? Now, she left her hometown to marry my grandpa, who was a government official during his time. My father tried to explain this to me. During my grandmother's time, if you're rich, you are only allowed to marry someone who is rich. And if you're poor, you're only allowed to marry someone who is poor. There is a very heavy emphasis on bloodline and wealth and status in the society during their time. I'm not saying that my grandfather was poor. He wasn't. But compared to my grandmother has some shit going on, man. Like, just recently, we traced her family crest, and it turned out that her family crest goes way back to the Kingdom of Leon in Spain. She came from the lines of kings. And so compared to my grandfather, who was just a normal, government official, grandpa was considered a janitor, basically. And so grandma had to leave her hometown and move to another province, I think, or another town. And so that's what happened. It's very sad because even until this day, my grandmother's family do not really recognize some of grandpa's family. Meaning, I still have some aunts and uncles and cousins that I haven't really met. My father still have a lot of relatives that he hasn't met. It's just the real story. It's just true story. Grandma, being my grandma, she pursued love. She followed her heart. And so, she married my grandpa. Now, who is my grandfather? As I've said already, my grandpa used to work for the government. He used to be a government official, but he was not corrupt. Grandpa, according to my father, likes to play chess. He is a sort of like a go with the flow kind of guy. Very gentle, very loving. He would never lay the hand on his children. He is always supportive. Like, yeah, you do whatever it is that you want to do. For as long as you're happy, I'm here. I'm going to support you. My grandfather has a heart for service. And grandpa had left some real estate properties. Some of it, he left it for the poor for free. Even until this day, they could stay there for as long as they want. Grandpa left that for them, and I think my father also inherit that for his children, for us, like the way he brought us up. Very loving, very gentle. Whatever it is that makes you happy, like, you do you. Like, I have never heard my father ever said this to me, like, oh, by the way, you should marry this and this guy because he owns a bank and he's rich and he's that. Like, I have never heard my father say that to me. Like, I would always hear my father would say to me, like, yeah, whatever it is that makes you happy, like, I just want you to be happy. I want you to be happy. I want you to find your happiness, and if you're happy, then I'll also gonna be happy. Like, I just want you to be happy. Like, my father is always like that. My father had some fond memories of his childhood growing up. He would tell stories where they used to live in this huge ancestral house. My father's family is huge as well. They are, I think, 11, 12 brothers and sisters. And so you could imagine the house. That ancestral house, I think, is no longer standing. I think they built a smaller house because obviously, all the family members have already married and they got their own lives. But during their childhood, their house is the only house that had television and a radio. And so their house was more of like a destination for all their neighbors to listen to because they're the only one who could afford it at the time. And this was, I think, 1950s. I remember my father would tell stories where they could eat foods that normal people, or at least the average people at that time, couldn't afford to eat. Say for example, they were able to afford to eat blue marlins, scallops, tuna, salmons, and all those expensive stuff. This is true story. This happened barely 2 months ago. We were having our usual dinner time, and in the middle of the dinner, my father just blurted out, "Oh, hey, by the way, your uncle called." He's talking about his eldest brother, my uncle, the one who sort of know a little bit more about my grandmother's heritage. And so my father said, your uncle called and he just informed me that we just discovered some new properties in some island somewhere, and we are going to be inheriting it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I went back to eating. And so I asked, like, if it is with your family, so what are you going to do about it? And my dad just said, nothing. They can have it if they want to. Like, I don't care. And I'm like, why? Why do you not care? And then my daddy just said to me, like, well, what am I supposed to do about those properties? Like, I still have some properties back home that I don't even use. Like, your aunt literally built her house in there. Like, she can have it if she wants to. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you have some properties back home that you're not telling me? Like, I don't know anything about this? Like, why are you not telling me this? And my father goes, well, why do you have to know about this? It's not important. I mean, it will always be there. My father is one of those very laid back dude who loves to throw parties and invite people to come to his house. Like, he loves to eat, he loves the feast, he loves to dance. Very laid back, eating grapes at the beach kind of guy. Like, and so I think that's also how my father want me to be. Like, you don't have to think about these things because it's not really that important. It will always be yours. It will always be yours. It will always be there. You know, that's his mentality. I have to say the thing about my father's family though, like, even though they're very laid back, when it comes to the good name and when it comes to the name of the family, they're very, very notorious in keeping that good name. Just because they know the value of having a good name, really. Because it has been kept for them for generations. And so these people would rather starve than to sell their soul or than to sell themselves. And I think I got that in me. Like, I have that same blood in me. One thing about my family, just because of their strict code of wanting to preserve the good name of their family, you will never ever hear anything about, say for example, somebody getting into trouble, like, you know, somebody got into prison, or somebody got into trouble, you know, somebody is involved into some dark, shady, whatever. My family has none of that. You will never hear anything like that. I have never heard any news about any members of my family. I think the most serious thing that I have ever heard that concerns my family is when my cousin, one of my cousins, she got pregnant out of wedlock. And I remember, my goodness, my entire family, okay, I'm not included because I'm always neutral. Like, come on, like, I don't care about these things. Like, you do you, whatever. Like, I'm neutral. I've always been neutral about everything. But my family, like, I heard my aunt and my uncles were like, oh my gosh, how can we cover this up? Like, oh, she got pregnant out of wedlock. That's the only thing that I've heard that caused major concern in our family. Other than that, let's say for example, some major stuff, you know, somebody got into prison, or, you know, somebody's involved in some, you know, dark stuff. Absolutely not. None of my family members, you will never hear anything like that from my family. And my father is notorious in keeping that. Like, you will always hear my dad like, oh, I will never ever gonna mess my name. Like, my father is one of those dude that has a very good name, good standing in the community. Just one word from my father, he is capable of giving you job. just because of his connection, because he's very well respected. Everyone respects him. He has a good name, and he keeps it that way because he does not want his children to suffer, to get bullied, or to be shamed because of him. I kind of appreciate my family more. Like, you would never hear anyone getting into trouble in the news. Like, yeah, you would hear, oh, uncle got elected into president. Oh yeah, somebody is running for like vice president or anything like that. But other than that, you will never hear bad news about somebody have gotten themselves into some dark, shady stuff that they could not get themselves out of. Like, we don't have that in my family, and I am so 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 grateful that my family is like that. So yeah, that's my family on a nutshell. Just to clarify, I am single. I have been single for years and years now. I have no children, okay? I have no baggage at all. And I am straight. Because I think it is also very important to announce this as well. Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to make things clear. So, and you may be asking, oh, so why are you still single? Go figure. Whoever is gonna be my husband to be, he is a one special dude, because I know this. I have inherited heaven and earth, basically. And it takes a very special man to handle that. It takes a very special man. He's a one special man, whoever is gonna be. That's what I have for you guys. I hope you enjoy listening about my family, and don't forget to check out all of my books and all of my paintings. If you are into that, you can go to my official website. There is a link in this channel. All the best, everybody. Bye bye.